Marisol has 4 times as much money as Diego, and Marisol has $48. How much do they have altogether? So we have 2 different people, so we can have bars to represent Marisol and Diego. And then in the question, it says that Marisol has 4 times as much money as Diego, which means that Diego can be represented by 1 rectangle. So we can show 1 piece here, which means that Marisol has to have 4 times as much as Diego, which means Marisol needs 4 boxes or rectangles. And the question also tells us that Marisol has $48. So we can label that Marisol here has $48. And then it says how much do they all have together. So this is what we're trying to figure out, the sum of both. So we know that all of these pieces are equal, so we can give each one of these a variable and we can say it's x. Now, we want to know what x is representing. So what is x representing? So if we look in our model, we have to look for what does just one x represent. And in the model here, we can see that 1x right here is representing what Diego has. So x represents the amount of money that Diego has. So in order for us to figure out how much just one of the x's is, we can know that we have 48 divided by 4, and we're dividing by 4 because we can see that Marisol has the 48 and she's got the 4 pieces. So 48 divided by 4 is equal to 12, which means that x is equal to 12. All of these are equal to 12. And now we can write an expression because we want to know how much do they all have together. So all together, if we look at this picture, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. So we have an x plus x plus x plus x plus x. Or this can also be represented as 5x since we learned how to collect like terms. Now, since we know that x is equal to 12, what we could do is we are really just trying to evaluate this algebraic expression. So 5x when x is equal to 12. So now we have 5 times 12, and 5 times 12 gives us 60. So this means that altogether they have $60. Jose has some money. He spends 1/3 of the money on a book. He spends 1/6 of what he has left on a game, and he has $45 left. How much did the book cost? So since we're looking at all of Jose's money, we can use 1 rectangle to represent all of Jose's money. And now the question says that he spends 1/3 of all of his money on a book. So that helps us know that our rectangle should now be divided into 3 different parts. So now that we have it divided into 3 different parts, we can label some things here. This is 1/3 of the money, and this is what he spent on a book. So here is our book. So now what we have is we could label this with, let's call it B for book. And if that's a B, then this is a B, and this is a B. So if we're thinking about what our variable is here, we have B, and B represents the cost of the book. So now that we know what our variables are representing and we have our first part of the model, we can continue to the next part of the question. Now it says he spends 1/6 of what he has left on a game. So this is the amount of money that he has left over, and he's spending 1/6 of just this part on a game. So what we could actually do now is we want to take this and we want to divide it into 6 parts because it's saying 1/6 of what he has left on the game. So I'm going to divide this up into 6 parts now. So if I do a line here, and if I do a line here, and I do a line here, and I do a line here, now what's left over is now into 6 parts, and it says he spends 1/6 of it. So just this part right here, this is now going to be on a game. This is for a game. And what I'm going to want to do now is I'm seeing that my model has B right here and right here, which makes it look like this is equal to this little piece, but it's not. So what I should do maybe is I can get rid of the B from here, and I might want to put the B's on the outside so that I know that in my model that the 3 pieces now, all of this, is representing a B. So that way I don't get confused. So then on the next part of the question, it says he has $45 left. So after he spends money on a book, after he spends money on his game, then he's left over with this section here, and it's saying he's got $45 left. Now, all of these are equal parts, and that means I can take all of this and divide it from the 45. So I have 45 divided by 5, which gives me 9, which tells me that this is 9, 9, 9, 9, and 9. And since all of these were equal parts because the game was 1/6 of what he had left, then we know that this is also 9. And since we can also see in our labeling here that this 3 pieces is equal to a B, and that's what I want to figure out is just one B, then I know if I can figure out how much my book is if I take 3 of these 9s, because that's one of these B's, is that going to be now equal to my B? So my book is equal to 9 times 3, which gives me $27. So how much does the book cost? So the book here costs $27. And then, of course, we can also just look back in this model. So remember when I divided up the leftover, and I put that B on the outside, right? So I can do that here as well still. This is the B on the outside. And inside of my one of these B's, I had it into 6 parts. So again, I could have done this. And then we have all these equal parts. So this would have been 9, 9, and then this would have been 9. So that's how come our book is now 9 times 3, which is $27. A barrel contains 28 liters of water. A bucket holds 5 liters of water. 3 buckets are filled from the barrel. How much water is left in the barrel? So we're thinking about how much water at the very beginning is in our barrel, which is 28 liters. So what we can do is we can draw one rectangle to represent our barrel. So here we've got one rectangle, and this whole thing is the 28 liters of water from our barrel. Then it says a bucket holds 5 liters of water and 3 buckets are filled from the barrel. So that means we have 3 buckets. So here's 1 bucket, 2, and 3. And each one of these, it says, holds 5 liters of water. So this is 5, 5, and 5. And then it says how much water is left in the barrel. So this is what we don't know. And then what we could say is that this is what we don't know. So this can be our variable, and we'll call it x. Remember, x is always, our variables are always representing what we don't know. So what does x represent? So x represents, if we label this, how much water is left in the barrel. This is the amount of water left in the barrel. That's what it is. So x represents the amount of water left in the barrel. So now if we're going to figure out what our x is, we're going to have to do 28, and 5 times 3 is going to give me 15. So we have 28 take away 15, and that's going to give us 13, which means that there are 13 liters of water left in the barrel. On a farm, 3 farmers have some sheep. Layla has 81 fewer sheep than Andres. Mia has 4 times as many sheep as Layla. They have 987 sheep in total. How many sheep does Andres have? So in this question, we have 3 different people. We have Layla, Andres, and Mia. So we can represent our rectangles to represent these 3 people. So now when we're trying to represent our rectangles, it's good for us to read this question again. It says Layla has 81 fewer sheep than Andres, which means that Layla's bar is going to be shorter than Andres. But I'm going to start with this part here where it says Mia has 4 times as many sheep as Layla. So if that's the case, then Mia is going to have 4 of what Layla has. So Layla's going to be represented, let's draw Layla's like this, and that represents the 1, which means that Mia needs to have the same thing as Layla, but we need to draw 4 of these. So now in our model, we can see that Layla is this, and Mia has 4 times as much as Layla. So we've done this part of the problem. So now let's look at the first sentence again. It says Layla has 81 fewer sheep than Andres, so that means Andres has more. So let's draw Andres' rectangle a little bit longer. Let's just make it like this. and it's longer by 81. So now this section here, this is 81, since it says Layla has 81 fewer sheep than Andres. And then we've done that sentence, and now our last thing here, they have 987 in total. So this is now going to be 987 in total. So now we can look at our model, and we can see that Layla's part was here, and Mia was drawn with 4 of those. So we know that we can say this could be X, and all of these are equal parts. These are also X. Now, Andres has what Layla has plus a little bit more, which means this little box here is also an X. So now we have to figure out, what does 1X represent? So if we look in our model, it has 1X right here, and 1X represents how many sheep Layla has. Okay, so if we want to figure out what the X is, what we're going to do is we see that we have 987. If we take away that 81, so 987 minus 81, we get 6, 0, and 9. So I get 906, which means that I have 906 that have to be divided up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So now I have to do 906 divided by 6. So it goes into it once, 6, subtract 3, bring down, that's 5, 30, subtract 0, bring down at 6. And that means I have 1 time 6 and no remainder. So that means one of these x's is 151. So let's just put this as 151 equal to 151 and keep going with that. So all of those x's was equal to 151, but the question says, how many sheep does Andres have? So if we look at this model, Andres has this much, and we can create an algebraic expression for Andres. Andres has x plus 81, and our x is equal to 151. So x plus 81 when x is equal to 151. So now we can just figure this out by doing 151 plus 81. That's going to give us 2, 8 plus 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Carry the 1. So we get 232. So this means that Andres has 232 sheep.